Hey guys, this show is brought to you by Slapz Car Audio, Trunked Under Lithium, Big Jeff Audio, and Cheesecake.
Cruising down the back roads, windows roll low, with the music blasting, bass and that flow. Remembering the bonfire, laughing with my crew, jamming on the corner, soaking up the view. Every beat's a memory, every song's a spark, feeling so alive, yeah, out here in the dark. Cranking up the radio, rolling through life, loving making memories, music cranks high. Do you feel that freedom? Can you hear the call? Those back road memories calling to us all. The dreams are still burning, laughter is the same, sound still echo loud, can you hear that name? Life was so electric, every day the song, hearts on the highway, we used to do no wrong. Chasing every sunset, world spin around, living for the moment, man, we're going down. I can feel that fire still burning in my soul, when nobody's watching, I bring my rock and roll. Those back road memories calling to us all. Calling to us all.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Down the back road.
So many good memories. I love my compilations and my intros because every time I watch them, I remember something, little pieces of things that were happening when I took those videos. It's good times all around, man. It's something that the bass community does is it brings together a wide group of people. You know, I mean, you think about it. There's certain communities that just are just versatile. There's like a lot of different diversity in the group. Um, gamers, man, gamers range from 5 years old to 70, 80 years old, and all across the economic spectrum. It's like, and the same thing with bass, man. Everybody loves it. You may not even you get people in your car that have never been in a vehicle like that, never experienced that, and you always get the same response. There's always wide eyes and a big old smile every time. It don't matter whether they think they're going to enjoy it, whether they don't think they're going to enjoy it. They always get the smile and the big eyes. They're like, "Wow, that's crazy." I absolutely love it. Demos is what makes my whole world go around. And yes, happy Daddy Day. So for all of you folks out there that have procreated and created clones of yourself, male and female, um, happy Clone Day. Good times all around. Um, let's see what all everybody's yammering about. Bobby B says, "Yo, Bobby just got to make his appearance." Jason Ewing said, "Howdy, howdy, howdy, Jason, howdy." Happy Father's Day off from D. Will. Uh, yeah, good, 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 good. Just chilling on this lazy Sunday, man. I'm telling you. Uh, Jason said he's into virtual reality games. I hadn't played any VR games yet. I'm always way behind when it comes to tech. Like, it took me like 3 or 4 years after the first smartphone started really appearing before I got one. I mean, like I'm like that though on anything like that. The only thing I jumped on really quickly was World of Warcraft. I was actually playing WoW during the very end of the closed beta and through most of the open beta. So I got on that train was really early and was able to experience some of the very best of the World of Warcraft experience. That was intense, man. I don't know if you guys know what's up with that, but um, going from the stuff that was around at that time to WoW was like such a huge jump. They finally figured out how to build a real game. That's what happened. It wasn't that it was the best game. It wasn't that it was the best of a certain type of game. It's just people stumbled upon the perfect video game, and that's held out, man, all these years. It's held out. It's still around. It's still the biggest video game out there, even though it's not as big as it was. It's crazy, man. Um, Jason pops in and said, "What's up, everyone? What's up, Jason? Team Chevy, happy Father's Day, all." Yeah. Um, Jason said he had a VR. Or D. Will hadn't played since PS2. Tried the Wii. Yeah, no, we wouldn't. I messed with it like half an hour one day. A friend of mine, their kids had one, and I was not impressed with that at all. Um, I played what was that? It wasn't Need for Speed. It was a Gran Turismo 2 or 3 on the PS2. It was the one where you could actually tell the computer to drive for you. You could build a car, and then you could have the AI drive the car. That was my favorite one. I liked playing it. I like driving myself, but I also like to get the AI to do it. Building a car that the AI could drive. I got way more fun out of building the car and setting it up than I did actually trying to drive it with the push buttons. But yeah, actually, I think my favorite video game on the PS2 was one none of you have ever heard of. It was called Carnage Heart. Um, and it's basically a robot building game. You build robots, design them, and then you design the program that makes the robot work. And the program tells the robot to do, to go hunt, find stuff, and then how to aim and shoot and what to use, whatever. Like if your ammo is below this amount, then you do this weapon instead, or maybe if your ammo is below a certain amount, you move forward and get closer to the target before you shoot them. Shit like that. The whole program was wide open. You told it to turn until it saw something, and then what to do when it saw the thing, and how far, depending on how far away it was or where it was. And it was so cool. Uh, it was just way, way, way cool. It was, and I haven't seen any other game like that. But it was called Carnage Heart. If you can find it on a PC, it's kind of mind bending how much fun programming those bots was. Blast. That's the kind of stuff I enjoy doing more than anything. I'm building, programming, creating. Those are things that I enjoy doing. I'm not so much an action, like a shooter player or nothing. I I more want to program a thing to do a thing or to build something, to create something. That's the kind of stuff that I get into is creating and building. I find no matter what game I'm playing, that's the kind of shit that I dig. Uh, Jason said he had a VR set up when he had a Note 4. It's very cool. It seems the video resolution has definitely improved since then. Yeah, that's the thing that VR stuff is getting kind of insane, you know. And I'm gonna mess with it some, but I just haven't yet. And again, by the time I jump on the train, it's going to be in real, really advanced at that point. So hopefully it all works out. D. Wilson, I miss my Game Boy. What's up, White Rambo? To get faster, yeah, that's I remember. Yeah, faster lines. Yeah, 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 yeah. The PlayStation, the Gran Turismo, yeah, yeah. Actually, mine was trying to get the maximum top speed because in order to get the maximum top speed, you had to do everything else right. You had to get the turns right. You had to get the grip right. You had to get the gearing right. Everything had to be perfect for you to hit that top speed on that straightaway. And get that last little bit. And so I really dig that. I really dig figuring that out. Um, Jason said, I didn't really play games, but flying around in space or underwater was very, very cool and trippy. On the VR, yeah, yeah, um, yeah. I could dig that. I think doing a virtual reality tour of uh, the Titanic. They've got one out there where you can do a VR tour of it on the ocean floor. Then they've got a game called it's sort of a game called Titanic Honor and Glory. It's actually I think it's a free download where you can get on the boat and go tour the whole ship. And those guys spent a ton of time, years and years, building this ship out perfectly. Every single bolt is as perfect as it can be, and they really nailed it. Um, and then there's a new Titanic game coming out. It's going to take, and it's not just Titanic, but it's also multiple different ships. You can go out and tour the ocean and take a trip across the ocean on the ship and stuff. Kind of neat stuff. So yeah, I dig all that. White Brambo said, new subscriber, awesome content. I appreciate you, my friend. I do the best I can. And my content is just real. This is me. I don't have to put on a show. I don't have to act because this is just who I am. If you come over to my house and hung out, you'd be talking to the same cat you're talking to right now. The same annoying old white dude. Um, Jason said, I think the PS2 was the last game system I had. It's the last one that I had. Yeah. Yeah. Gran Turismo. Yeah. Great game, man. Um, but yeah, if you like that kind of programming, building, designing kind of thing, find a port of Carnage Heart, um, and check that out. It's not exciting. It's not action packed. It's not high speed. It's none of those things. But it will get your brain to cooking. So good times all around, man. I've been messing around gaming for years. I got hooked on it. I guess by my first real. I mean, I had a breakout game, an Atari breakout, an Atari Pong. It had Pong on it and Breakout. And then I had the Nintendo system, which of course was Super Mario, Duck Hunt, and several games that were pretty lame. And then my mom got into this game called River Raid and Pac Man, of course, playing that on the Nintendo. And that's all I really remember from that. Then I got a PlayStation 2. I had a PlayStation as well, but I don't remember anything about it. The PS2. No, actually, it was the PlayStation. The original PlayStation was the one I'm remembering. Yeah. But that's about it, man. Um, just brought the old 90s. I just brought some old 90s JBL amps, Grand Touring Series. I always liked them for the looks. JBL Grand Touring. I'm not familiar. I'm going to have to look that up. Let's see if we can find them here. Uh, uh, Oh, okay. Yeah, those are pretty freaking sick, man. Let's see if I can find one that's got a good. Uh, uh, this will work. Um, have a few pictures. So hang on a second. I'll pull one of them up. That's an interesting amplifier. JBL Grand Touring. I believe we found what we're talking about here. Um, that is a 6 channel, it looks like. Let's have a closer look at some of these other angles. Oh, yeah. So we got sub input now, a sub left and right, front and rear left and right, with uh, it's got a protect light, power light. It's got the sub control. So it's got high and low level input, stereo and mono input mode. Um, Pretty cool. What's this? So on the bottom, we got the input level and the frequency, the bass boost, level and frequency, high pass, low pass, and flat. Okay. Yeah, I dig it. Is that the bottom or the top? That's the top, ain't it? Yeah, it's the top. Okay. Because here it is up here, and here's the sub left and right. It looks like probably a 4 gauge left and right, and two 30 amp fuses. I know because fuses that are blue are usually, or green are usually 30 amps. Pretty sure those are 30 amp fuses. So that tells me this is not going to be a powerhouse. Okay, yeah, it's a 755.6. I'd say that's probably optimistic. It does have a bridgeable mode though. So it's probably like a 200 watt sub and then 420 watt, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, cool. Cool amplifier though. I dig it. I like the appearance of it. The look is cool. There's a bunch of them in this line, so I just found one that represented, I think, the basic amp he was talking about. Let's go back up here and see what you guys are going on. GTS 150 GT. Yeah, I didn't get the exact one you were talking about, but I got the GTO 755. So there's that. Oh, Bobby B, what are you doing, Bobby? Bobby said I can't stay long. Kids and grands, all of them's coming over to. All the clones are there to inspect the original. And get your food on, man. I had cheesecake. My wife asked me yesterday, "Well, you want me to get at the grocery store?" But besides the normal stuff, and I said, "Ice cream." She looked at me and she's like growling at me because I'm not supposed to have ice cream. I said, "And cheesecake." And she growled some more. But y'all see, I got that damn cheesecake. I got the ice cream too. Yeah, my wife loves me. She's a good girl. What setting on your bass amplifier do you start with? Anthony said. What setting? What When setting your bass amplifier, what do you start with? Okay, that's a different question. When setting. All right, so I have two answers to that question. I have the proper way of doing it, more or less answer, and then I have the way that I actually end up doing it most of the time answer. The proper way that you do it, more or less, would be to uh, turn your gain all the way down, turn the bass boost all the way down, turn the frequency response. If you don't have a minimum like a high pass filter or a subsonic filter, then that's not an issue. If you do have one, set it at your minimum about 5 uh, about five frequencies below your port tuning, five or 10, somewhere in that range below your port tuning to prevent it from unloading. If not, then don't set that at all. But your mine's always all the way off. And then set your upper one, your upper frequency range to, usually by default, I go to 100 hertz. And then I usually end up backing it down quite a bit after that, but I just start out there. Then I know what the loudest track is that I play, the biggest bass or typical. And you can throw in a test tone. You can do anything you want in this regard. I usually go with an actual song. I go with the rebass song. That's the loudest shit that I play, and you get that on your stereo and crank it all the way up, as loud as you play your head unit, right? And they say, well, you're supposed to do it up to the clip light. Well, if you don't have a clip light, you just crank it up till it starts to sound like hot shit, and then turn it back down a little bit. When you get to that point, you figure out where your mids and highs are going to be at, no matter whether they're going to be max volume or whether you're going to have them, lower volume. Whenever you get the mids and highs where you're going to stop them at, then you go back here and start turning the gain up on the amp. You keep turning it up until it's either as loud as you ever want it to be, or you start to hear a funny noise. You start, you start to hear that funny noise, and you'll hear it. It's different. Clipping sounds different. You back it back down just a little bit and then call it good. Um, and if you got a bass knob and you're like me, you probably just crank the gain all the way up, back it off about an eighth of a turn, and then use your bass knob to take it as far into clipping as you want to whenever you're doing, demos and shit. That's the reality of it. But yeah, essentially what I told you at the beginning, though, that was the best way to set it up, unless you're a nut like we are, and then gain is just optional. I mean, it is what it is. You basically set the damn thing to the maximum gain, and then you go up until you decide you want to stop with the knob. That requires that you understand what you're doing and that you're not just going wide open all the time. If you have a tendency to take that knob and just wide open it, then set your gain to where maybe you just get into clipping whenever you hit maximum level. That's usually a safe spot. But if you have a little bit of sense, you can work the whole thing with just the bass knob, and you can control how much you want to get into clipping and how long you want to be there. All that shit. It's a little more fine tuning on the fly, but I'm just being honest. That's how most of my idiot friends and myself do that. Bobby said I was outside most of the day working on my build. The temp was 105. No, it was nice and cool here, man. This is 72 right now. I got up into the mid 70s. Good times, baby. Um, Other than the white, older than the white version for sure. Yeah, underrated. Yeah. Uh, the 10 JBL are later in the 2000s. Oh, okay. So I was a little bit off. So do they? Yeah, JBL used to be known for really solid stuff, man. They're not as much anymore, but I don't think they should be discredited too much because they still build good stuff. They're not as they're not top shelf anymore. They're like several shelves down from the top, but they're still building good stuff. You can still buy some excellent speakers and stuff from JBL. Uh, Bobby said ribs. Well, as long as it's not goats, man, because I picked up a silver GTO 600.1 and a 75.4. Then the next gen black GTO 1400.1 and 1004, 555, 5355. I don't know these amps personally, but I'm glad to hear you found the stuff that you're looking for. That's always good. Um, Y'all see my background? I got amps on my background. That's right down the road from me. That boy's got a lot of cool stuff. Uh, Jason said I started adjusting gain on mids and then adjusting tweeters to blend. Yeah, he was talking about sub amp specifically. He didn't talk about mids and highs, just sub amp. So, but yeah, your mids is you want to if you're doing the whole system. Yes, you start out with your mids because that's 90% of the music you're listening to. You want that to determine the level, the maximum level of everything else. So you get your mids up to the level that you want them, the loudness level that you're looking for. Then you bring the tweeters up to match them. Yes. And then bring in, yeah, that all totally makes sense. Um, I'm 100% on board with that. Um, yeah. Turn it back down using the bass knob. Easy. Yep. Uh, the thing about tweeters, man, you can get stupid with tweeters. Um, I've heard so many builds where the tweeters weren't set right. You know that, and old people like me tend to set the tweeters a little bit hot because our hearing is not as good as it used to be in the highs in the real high range. You know that 13K and up area. It's a little bit rolled off of my ears, but having said that, I'm aware of that. I get in vehicles where there's no highs, like it's everything sounds like this, and I'm like, and then I get in other vehicles where the tweeters are literally cutting your skull open. I'm like, what? Why is nobody in the middle? Essentially, what you want to do if you're having trouble, and this is the best way to set your tweeters, get a recording of somebody talking. Okay, a good recording of somebody talking, and then have your tweeters turned down, your tweeters turned down, and as they're talking, bring the tweeters up until you can hear the consonants properly. When the person's voice and their lips and their tongue and their teeth and all of that sounds natural. Nothing is, there's no pop pops, no tickies, no loud tickies, real loud S's or T's. When it sounds natural, that's where you stop at. That's going to sound perfect on music. So bring your tweeters up until you can hear the consonants get nice and crisp. And right at that point, right there is where you want to stop. And the reason I said do this with a human voice is because all songs are going to sound different. They're going to be uh, processed differently. They're going to have different levels and different things for different things. But the one thing that's constant is we all know what the human voice sounds like. We all know what spoken word should sound like. It don't matter who's talking. As long as the recording is good and flat and a solid recording, you're going to get a really, really good example of what mids and highs should sound like together by listening to the human voice and tweaking that, bringing those tweeters up until just the point to where you get the consonants popping in when they're talking. And they don't sound like this anymore, they sound like this, right? Um, that's the best way to get your tweeters dialed. And I have a track from some SQ organization. I forget who. It's got a bunch of songs, but in one of the tracks, a person talks a little bit. They say, the next sound you're going to hear comes from this side or this side, right? The recording is really good. So I use their voice of that person to nail the tweeter level. That's what I do. When I get it, that's my checkpoint for that solution. Um, yeah. D. Will said, I like it crispy. I'll always tell him. I always tell him, yeah, yeah, and crispy. I get it. You like a little bit hotter, mids and highs. But you can still overdo that. You can get it to that point to where it's got that snap. But I don't want a hole in my skull. You know what I'm saying? I want it to sound as natural as I can get it. If you're trying to dial for natural, then you want to use the human voice because that's the one place where you'll notice it's wrong. Like if you have your tweeter set wrong and you're listening to a particular song, and this particular recording has a fairly soft top end, it's going to it may sound perfect, right? Because the song is a little soft and you've got bright tweeters, and now that brightness kind of picks that song up and makes it sound better to your ear. Then when you play a different song that's not recorded that way, all of a sudden your tweeters are like blowing your top of your head off. Or you may be playing a song that has really bright top end. And if you've got your tweeter set a little bright anyway, it's just going to be really bright. And so you can't use any of this music to get that level set because they're all up and all over the place. But the human voice, just a good flat recording of the human voice will give you a really, really good way to zero in those highs. Jason said, we need to convince more people to invest $80 in an RTA mic. Yeah, no kidding. Even if you don't know what you're doing, you can make significant improvements. Yeah, you can actually get an RTA mic that can plug into your phone. And then you could download an RTA app and use, and you have to work through a little process of getting the mic calibrated to the app. Or technically, it's getting the app calibrated to the mic. Once you do that, you can use your phone or any phone. It can be an old phone that you don't even use anymore as an RTA that you can just throw in your vehicle and RTA it. I have found, though, that using the microphone of most of these old pieces of equipment it's not calibrated for perfection, but it's so close. As long as you're not cranking it real loud and overwhelming the mic, it actually does a pretty damn good job. So if you don't have anything else, just an old smartphone that you got in a drawer somewhere, connect it to your Wi-Fi at your house, download an RTA app, and use that. Set it on your steering wheel right there in front of you where you can see it, and use that to get your level set on each channel. You'll be surprised how accurate that's going to be. It won't do the real low bass very well because that sensor won't pick up that frequency very well. But everything from about 100 to 200 hertz and up is going to be pretty accurate. And if you don't have a mic, it's still going to be way more accurate than your ear's going to be, and it'll help you lock in and get something that actually doesn't sound like hot shit. Red Pile says, start with the Miz and use Michael Jackson to bring in the tweets. Yeah. Barry White to bring in the mid bass and subs. No doubt, dude. Y'all are awesome. Yeah, Barry White. Oh man. Who was it? There was the bump and grind song. Who sung that? Two people sung it. It was two different versions. One was like, I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. I don't see nothing wrong. And the other one was like, I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind, baby. Yeah. I like the second one better, but yeah, it's two different songs. And Bobby said, what mic would you suggest? Look for, hell, man. Honestly, the app will calibrate to the mic. So as long as it'll plug into your phone and you can get the phone to pick it up, it's going to be I don't have one in here. I've got some hanging on my board in there, but I don't have any in here. It's going to look like it's going to have a little stick on the end and a thicker stick back this way. It's going to be a thicker stick going to a smaller stick. Kind of a funny looking rocket looking microphones. That's what you're visually going to see. Ron C slow version. No, I don't think it was slow because this is way back, man. This is back in like, man, holy shit, dude. Back in early 90s. Yeah. And I think it'd been around for a minute then. Um, Dayton, yeah, Dayton, yeah, Dayton mics, yeah. Um, a lot of mics will roll off the lows and highs, so it can be hit or miss depending on the phone or tablet. Exactly. That's why I said you don't expect anything magical to happen below, like, you know 40 hertz or above about 16, 15, 16K. You're going to be in the area where it's not going to be reliable. But everything in between, though, I mean, most of your phone mics are going to handle that just well. The microphones that are in these smartphones are not only very robust, but they're actually pretty damn good. If you if you take this microphone and pull that out of there and compare it to something out of a high end mic, you might be surprised. This guy here may be a more higher quality mic than the one that's in that other actual microphone. They're not. The components are not cheap. I mean, this thing was like $1,400. I mean, it's got good components. Um, the only thing that kills something like this is the fact that the microphone is located in kind of a little old hole, and it's got like a little screen over it, and it's all backed up in there to protect it from water and stuff. And so that can kind of skew your readings a little bit, but it is what it is. Um, so you guys saw, y'all been keeping up with me. I know you have. Working on the Tahoe and getting that all sorted out. I haven't put this video up yet, but it's coming. So I got to doing some measuring, and I'm going to tell you, man, the space that I intend to put this thing in um, is tight. Okay, so we're looking at a 2.5 inch amp, and then another 2.5 inch amp, and then there's the mount that makes them both mount together and stack. Right, has got like an inch or got like an inch and a quarter of space below. So you add another inch and a quarter to that, and you end up with a quite a lot of protrusion into that cavity. Where it's sitting at right now, I couldn't double stack. I could stack two amplifiers if they were literally stacked together, touching and then flat against the wall. But with all of the stuff involved in that bracket, it's like 7.5 inches total of space that you have to get those to fit. Down where the amplifier is sitting at right now, I've got 6 inches of space off the wall, so it's not going to work. If you go up to the very top, up there where the wires are coming out for the subwoofers, right at that spot, and then measure out to the glass, it's like 7 5/8. All right, and the amp is like 14 inches long, and the space between the top of the door handle, the thing down below that causes a limitation, and those wires is around 15.5 inches. So I got like an inch and a half vertical space that I can move up and down and still have that amplifier within the clearing the window, the door handle, the wires, and all the things. It's a very tight spot. And if I add a 3/4 inch amp board, it won't fit. If I add a 1/4 inch amp board behind it, it might fit, but it'd be really close. Really close. So yeah, it's quite it's going to be tight. But all that's coming up in the video. Um, Jason said, if you want a USB mic for a Windows laptop, look at the Dayton UMM6. Yeah, I've actually, like I said, I've got two. I've got a USB mic. Oh, and by the way, some of those mics have to be powered. They're not all phantom power. Some of them have to be powered. So you may have to have like a little device to plug the mic into, then plug that into your phone. You may not be able to plug it straight into a tablet and have it work. Just forewarning, make sure it doesn't need its own power source or like a preamp to go. Some of them require a preamp, some of them require like power source. Yeah. I think you get some scrap metal sheet and bend my own brackets. Yeah. Yeah, I could. Um, but I think we're going to be okay with this. One of the bonuses to having that little space underneath there is I'll be able to, if I want to, run cabling underneath the amp, the bottom amp, that leaves enough room under there to run a very thick jacketed alt gauge wire underneath it. So, Adrian, Adrian said, if it's too loud, you're too old, baby. You ain't even lying, man. Uh, I thinking back to being a kid, guys. I don't know. I don't know how I grew up poor, man. Now my stepdad, he was driving this 1978 Subaru DL station wagon. It was front wheel drive, not four wheel drive, front wheel drive. It was red and had a white stripe down the side of it. So it messed up on him, and he wound up getting another vehicle. When he did, he parked that one out there. He had bought it for like $500 and drove it for several years. And he parked it out there, and he gave that to me, even though it didn't run. So I had this uh, electric train set. But all I kept from that electric train set was the little thing that would allow you to make the train go, the little power supply that you hooked up to the tracks. And it had a little potentiometer on it, and you could make the train speed up and slow down or go backwards and stuff. Well, I kept that thing. And I hooked that up to the battery in that car and ran an extension cord out there. And I ran that thing up until I was getting about 13 and a half volts out of it. And that's how I kept the car battery charged. And I hooked up a couple of crappy home stereo speakers back in the hatchback area back there. And then I had some more speakers up front, and I hooked it all up to this stereo that was in there and got that thing to working. And I would sit out there in the car and listen to music out there in the backyard for hours. It's like, I don't even know, dude. I was a young teenager. I've been into this stuff forever, man. There's never a point that I can go back to where I knew I was going to get into car audio. I was into it way before I could drive. I was putting stereos in cars before I could even drive a car. You know, that's how long I've been doing this shit. It goes and goes. Um, XLR mics need a mic mate to provide phantom power. Yep. Yeah, most 99% of them that have a USB plug on them will plug straight into something, but not every one. Some of them require a preamp to get anything out of that mic into the amp to whatever you're interfacing with. I ran into that problem. That's why I know this. I ran into it, and that was a learning curve for me. Umix said, I think one helped me a ton. Paired with JL Tune. Ah, gotcha. Rawcat's really good. Um, it's a little bit too good. It's like if you're wanting to know how to walk, you don't need to watch a tutorial on someone teaching you how to jump over hurdles. You know, that's the thing. I try to be that walk person for everybody, because usually if you're googling it, you're clueless, or at least mostly clueless, and you need a starting point. You need to get the basics understood so that you can build on it. You know what I'm saying? So I try to provide those types of tutorials where you don't really know anything. You can just wrap your head around the concept first. And if you want to get into details and into the weeds, then there's other videos that are going to be better for that. But I like to try to get a good picture, a good picture of the forest before I try to get you to identify certain trees, right? That's just how I do it. But yeah, there's some great YouTubers out there for that stuff. Uh, Jammed for hours, had no complaints the whole time. Oh man, dude, so many days I spent out there. Oh, the car, it had a bad starter solenoid. That was literally all that was wrong with that car. Um, and I fixed it myself. I figured out, I don't know, I was like 13 or 14, and there was no YouTube, and nobody was teaching me anything. But I just kept thinking about it, messing with it one day, and I shorted the two things together to get the starter to engage, and it cranked over. And I said, "What is that? What is that thing I just messed with?" And I got a hold of my uncle. I took it off and took it to my uncle's house, and he's like, "Yeah, it's a starter solenoid." So then I took it and scraped up some money and bought a starter solenoid for it, put it on it, and with like 3-year-old gas, it fired right up and drove to town. Freaking Subaru, man. Go figure. Um, yeah, and see, that's my complaint. REW is good, but to learn, it's just more steps than needed. REW is an extremely powerful piece of software, and it's for car audio. It's got about 3 times as much stuff in it that you actually need for car audio. So learning how to go in there and find the stuff that you need and use it can be overwhelming if you're starting out. If you're just watching a tutorial on how to use RAW, you're going to have to go through 75% of the stuff that they're going to tell you about, you don't need to know about. And you got to pick out that 25%. There's so much stuff out there that can do it. The things that you need that's far more stripped down to just what you need. Um, and yeah, essentially all you're doing is correcting. You're making corrections. Okay, so the DSP allows you the tools to make those corrections. Uh, the analyzer, or whatever that thing's called, the RTA, the real time analyzer, is how you find the problems that you need to correct and where they are. All right. The thing you have to do is learn how to read the RTA and then go to the tools in the DSP to use the tool to fix the problem you saw in the RTA. That's the whole woods right there. A little closer. So you take one individual speaker. Now let me back up a little bit. You got in your car, you've got bare minimum a left and a right front speaker. Okay. And the left front speaker, if you live in the United States, is going to be right by your leg and shoot in that direction. Okay. And the right front speaker is going to be way across the other side of the car, firing straight at your head. So even though those are both getting the same exact sound going to them, the sound when it gets to your ear is going to be totally different. This one over here is going to be losing a lot of highs because it's shooting that direction, and there's plastic and stuff and body and you and seat all in between your ear and that speaker. Over here, it's going to be getting a direct shot at your ear, but it's also way over there, so it's going to take time for it to get here. And your brain goes, hey, it took time for that sound to get here. That speaker's further away, and it throws off the sound field. So you go in there and pull up that left speaker in this really basic hypothetical situation, and you would run the RTA on it with the mic located where your head is. It's going to show you that speaker is missing a bunch of its high end, its top end. It may be really hot at, say, 400 hertz. So then you would turn that 400 hertz down some until it levels out a little bit more. And then to the mic, i.e., your ear, it's going to sound like that speaker should sound if it was located more pointed towards your ear. And you can also do the same thing on this one over here. You can bring its highs down a little bit to kind of make them balance out, right? Then you can adjust the alignment on the time, so you can make this speaker that's real close to you take a few milliseconds longer to play behind the one over here, and that tricks your brain into thinking that they're the same distance from your head. So now your brain thinks this speaker's aimed at your head, like it should be, and it also thinks that this one over here is closer to your head. And now it sounds more like you're in the middle of the sound field and everything sounds balanced. And that's just two speakers, and it's really rudimentary, but that's essentially what you're doing with a DSP is you're fixing problems. And in a car, there's always going to be tons of problems. And there's way more than that, but that's the basics of what you're trying to accomplish. You're trying to get all the speakers to sound like they're the same distance from your head, and all of them to sound like they're pointed more towards you and not like off in crazy directions, and sound like there's not stuff blocking them and stuff. You need to boost frequencies and cut frequencies, mostly cut, and get that balance to where you can look at the front of you and it feels like the sound field just spreads out on both sides of you like this. And they're all right out here in front of your face, just spreading out. And the guy playing the saxophone stays in the spot where he's standing at. He doesn't go, high notes don't make him move over here and low notes move over here. The highs and the lows will all sound like they come from the same location. And you start getting that kind of, but now we're getting into the weeds. But yeah, that's what DSP is for, is to create a sound image and making it basically to clean up sound to begin with, and then also to really enhance it and make it sound like you have a live show going on in front of you once you get really good at it. RAW can do a lot, Jason says. I mainly just use RTA screen on it. I like being able to add smoothing to take averages, basic stuff. Yeah, that is helpful. I use an app. I think it's called RTA Pro on my tablet and my Tahoe. I've been using it for several years, and it gives a similar. It has a whole bunch of little bars, and you can set the bars for the number of the bars that you want. I usually have it set for 30 bars because I have an equalizer that has 31 bands. So having 30 bars, it kind of helps me narrow in on it lines up with the equalizer so that I can adjust individual bars, and can really dial it in. But that's what I've been using. DB G Blaze is 240 versus 320 amp alt. Well, more is better, but okay, it depends on where the reading is coming from. If that's 240 amps versus 320 amps at 2000 RPM, then more is better. Unless if it's a good quality, if they're both equal quality. But I have found that usually those alternators that are rated at 220 or 200 or 250 tend to be alternators that make that power down in the 500 RPMs. And if you ask me whether I'd want a 240 at 500 RPMs or a 320 at 2000 RPMs, and let's say the 240 at 500 RPMs makes like 270 at 2000 RPMs, I would gladly pick the 240 at 500 RPMs, because 90% of the time, whenever I'm pulling power and booming, I'm sitting there idling. I'm not holding it at 2000 RPMs. So I want my biggest power numbers, or a lot of the biggest work being done at low RPMs. And so, yeah, it just depends on how it's measured and where it's making that power at. Yeah, he's literally, yeah. Yep, that's exactly what Jason just said. Thank you, Jason. You're on top of it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Jason's always on top of his game. He literally just said what I said. I hadn't got to his comment yet. But yeah, I'm more interested in it making power at idle, not at it making power at 2,000 RPMs. Because even when I'm on the tree, um, I almost never remember to rev it up and put 2,000 RPMs on it. I never remember to do that. And honestly, it wouldn't make any difference on my system anyway, because my Trunk Thunder Lithium can handle a couple of minutes of hard playing before the voltage starts to dip anyway. So it wouldn't matter if I was cranking it, or I could turn the vehicle off and get the same numbers. Just pull up and shut it off and run it with just the battery and get the same numbers. It's not going to change what I'm going to get in the next 30 seconds to a minute. Over a course of several minutes, yes, the voltage would start to drop a little bit, but yeah, not for 30 seconds to a minute. It's all off battery for me. Oh goodness gracious, man! You guys have been a blast tonight. I've still got some stuff to sort out, but I think I have most of it figured out. One thing I haven't got nailed down in my head though is I've got two power wires. Well, yeah, I kind of do have this nailed down, but I'll tell you anyway. I have two power wires coming from the front of the vehicle, from the alternator and the front. Right now, they're both going to the battery. I was debating on where I was going to put those at. I guess I'm going to end up putting them back on the battery. I'll probably keep the battery wired pretty much the way it is now, with two positives coming from the front connecting, and then on the other side of those bolts, two positives going up to the distribution block, and then the same thing with the negatives, two in and two back up. Um, so yeah, there's actually a couple of wires I can take off of there. I'll probably end up keeping that the way it is. I don't know yet for sure, for 100%. But yeah. Anyway, I'm getting there, and tomorrow my amp should be here tomorrow. That's my cue to start this assembly. Um, I'm just one of those people. I don't like starting a project until all the stuff that's out of my control is in my control. In other words, everything that I want to need, I either have it or I 100% know where I can go get it and that I can go get it. That's when I start. I don't anything that's still not in my control. I can't. I don't dive in the project until I've eliminated that stuff. That's just how I am. Um, did I miss anybody else's questions back here? Could I possibly have. Uh, Jason said McMahon should know that since they will know what size pulley they use. Yeah. Well, if you go through GP Car Audio and get one of the Team GP alternators, um, get a bracket for the dual alternator bracket like I did. They'll even send you a belt. If you get the alternator, they'll give you a belt for free. And belts are expensive, so they're going to give you a free belt. Autotech 240, 3K amp, 1200.4. GP Car Audio, yeah. Yeah. Hang on a minute. Let's go over here. Hang on. I don't want to talk out my ass. I like to keep it real. Let's see here. Hang on a second. All right. Oh. Replace. Here we go. That did not work. Oh, well, that didn't work either. You know, I suck at this. screen share. I did this. I did that, and it still did the same thing. Okay. Okay. All right. We're going to do it this way. What's the hell? We're going to do this one. We're going to pull this up. We're going to pull this up, and then we're going to. Boy, let me tell you, we ain't just not doing the right thing today. It keeps doing that. I'm doing the right thing. So it's not me. It is not me. It's not me. I didn't do it. I blame Bobby. Remove. Okay, well, that worked. We'll just do it this way. It really wants to. Oh, that was the one. Okay, that is the right screen. All right, shit. Y'all, see, this is what happens when you get old. Uh, holy crap. Holy crap, Zilla. Let me get chat back up over here. Because I have just completely botched trying to pull this up. So here we are at GP Car Audio. We'll go up here to alternators and batteries, and we'll look up at Team GP alternators. And you see the prices and the alternators all listed right here in stock. That's a lot like mine. That probably is. Yeah, that literally is my alternator right there. That green one, same color green I have and everything. Damn, I paid $600 for that. Oh. I was driving a truck, guys. Trucker money, man. Trucker money. The prices aren't bad though. So, what kind of vehicle was that? Let's see here. 240 AKK. DB Glaze. I have no idea what kind of vehicle you have. Big Will says, or D Will says Big 3. Yeah, Big 3 is a big deal. And then Bobby said a Big 5. And D Will says a Big 10. Yeah. 5K potential watts or 3K on subs. 5K potential, 3K on subs. If it depends on your battery, man. If the 240 with trunked under lithium 5K V2 would handle 5,000 watts, hell, it would handle nearly 10,000 watts. Actually, it would handle 10,000 watts quite easily. Let's see here. It would handle, wait a minute. I've lost track of what I'm doing. So yeah, if you need that guy right there, the little banger 5K. This guy right here with that 240, with that 240 amp alternator, and this guy right here, you could do 10,000 watts. It would handle your system like it wouldn't even know that it was there. It'd be effortless, and you guys cannot see what I'm looking at. Yeah, you guys can't see. There we go. This would be this alongside your 240 would knock it out of the park. This guy right here. It would not care what you were doing. It would handle twice as much power as you'd be asking for it. So, yeah, Jason, absolutely. 3K big boss. Yeah. Recoil 1200.4. Nice setup. Yeah, the 320 or the 240. Either one of those two alternators and this battery that you're looking at right here. Locate this back there by your amplifier, and your problems will all melt away. You will have no issues, and This battery with that alternator and this battery will support twice as much power as what you currently have. So you can grow for quite a while with this setup. That's what I would suggest. Thank you, Jason, for your helpfulness. You're always helpful. Has anybody else got any questions for me this fine Father's Day evening on the Friday the 13th weekend? Oh, did I show? Oh no, I didn't. I did not show y'all. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Guys, holy mackerel. Okay, yeah. I have a comment from a person. I have a message from somebody on holy mackerel on Facebook. I'm gonna have to read that. That's huge. What's up? Garrick made it in here. He just kind of popped in here late, stumbled in. Kind of stumbled in, man. Just kind of stumbled. You missed the cheesecake, Garrick. I had cheesecake, and that shit was on fire. It's just the Walmart, that Walmart cheesecake, man. the big old with the all sliced up into little triangles, Yeah, I got one of them in the fridge, man. I told her I wanted some cheesecake, and she didn't get me a little cheesecake. She got that big, like 12-inch freaking slab that you could feed like 20 people with. Yeah, that's what that was cheesecake. It's cheesecake. She said, I'm gonna get this amount. I'm like, damn, girl, you're trying to kill me. Like I can't eat a little bit and stop, I'll have to eat the whole thing at one time. Oh, baked cookies. Oh, you say you had no baked cookie. No baked cookie. I don't know. I'm trying to catch up with that one. Constantly upgraded, D. Will said, yeah. That's how it works, man. There's no end. There is never an end. There's never a done. There's only at best, there's only a I'm done for right now. That's the best that you're ever going to get out of a bass head. There's never it's done. It just isn't ever done. If it was done, if there was a done, then it would have been done when you bought the car. Because you bought the car, it's like, oh, this sounds good. This system sounds good. I like this car. Everything's great. I'll buy this car. But then your brain goes, oh, it's not done. I need to do things. I need to put wheels on it. I need to put a new exhaust on it. I need to tint the windows. I need to, tint the headlights. I need to tint the taillights. I need to put LEDs and everything. It's never done. That's not how our brain works. It just isn't. It's just never done. Has anybody got any more questions for me? If not, we're about to go ducking. Tippy dibby dibby duck. Guys, I will get to work. I got to do a whole bunch of more studying, thinking, and figuring. Tomorrow, I'm going to start building and videoing. You guys will be on that whenever I start delivering it. And for now, happy Father's Day. Get your duck on.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm here banging up and down the street, slamming it to the ground. Subwoofers are getting loud. You can feel the booming sound. Getting ready to go. Got it shined up for the show. Hours charging, amps are amping. Gonna let the woofers blow. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. We got more at home. Another one bites the dust.
Tires are glowing and the amp is smoking. Subs are cherry red. Let me keep jamming, gotta keep the bass fan. I'm gonna go hard till they're dead. Full power, gotta let it go. 20 hertz in the floating air. Sparks are flying, voice cords are frying, and the smoke is in the air. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. Hey, we got more at home. Another one bites the dust.